Alright, peace, Sarah. Now we're going to look into your moon. So you have your moon in the sign Virgo within the 11th house. So to begin with, when the moon is in Virgo, right, this most definitely does make for a very analytical and critical individual. You know, these individuals typically tend to peep all of the details, you know what I'm saying, and because of that, they may even be like bothered, you feel me? It's like, I want to use the term ADHD, but no, I don't think it is ADHD. No, it's like you feel what I'm saying. It's like this type energy where it's let's say you're working on a painting, right? And the painting in of itself is amazing, but there's this slight variation, right? And rather than focusing on the bigger picture, which is amazing, your whole attention is pulled towards that tiny mishap, you feel what I'm saying? So yeah, Virgo is very negatively, it's very inclined towards criticism, always looking at the cup as half empty rather than half full, you feel what I'm saying? But positively, of course, they're highly analytical, you know. A lot of things that get past other people don't get past them. They're and it's like, okay, your sun is in an extroverted masculine sign, right? But it's like your moon is in a feminine introverted sign, and so too is your ascendant. And just by judging according to these two placements, I would say that you're one of those Leos that's more introverted, that's more kept to self, if what I'm saying, rather than extroverted and highly expressive, if what I'm saying. Um, which is good because the thing also about Virgo is, if it's one thing they're really good at, is they're good at conserving their energy. You know, they're very resourceful like that as well. They like to plan things out, you feel what I'm saying? They don't have time for like error, you feel what I'm saying? They want to make sure that things are as tight as they possibly can be, you feel what I'm saying? Now, biblically speaking, the story, with Adam and Eve is very well. Eve especially is very much associated with the Virgo energy, and so Eve, right? We know she went on a full-on conversation with the serpent, and she was asking him all these questions and just trying to get information out of him, which is very integrated with the Virgo energy, in the sense that Virgos, they're very analytical, they're very thorough, they're very logic based, you feel what I'm saying? Because in that story, right, it was like God told them to stay away from that tree, but regardless, Eve, from a place of, being more intellect based, she wanted to, she had some inquiries for the snake. And so, after asking and discerning information, she made up her mind that, well, it's good for food, but it's also desirable because it will make her wiser. And so she ended up consuming it. But it's like that story really also highlights like the price that you have to pay for wisdom and knowledge, you feel me? And Eve, regardless of the warnings, choosing to eat the fruit rather than being obedient, signifies that she made up her mind that the price, even though heavy, is worth the acquiring of that knowledge. You feel what I'm saying? And so Virgos most definitely are on a search to find the how in life. They always want to know how things operate and why things operate. Like both Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury, but it's like Gemini more so is after the why, why things are the way that they are. But then Virgo, it's more intricate, it wants to know about like the the mechanical reasons for why things work, or how things work, you know what I'm saying? Why things work the way that they do. So with that being said, Virgos have a tendency of breaking things apart continuously, And they have a desire to fix things as well. But it's like the issue here is, as a Virgo, you may be better at breaking things apart than putting things together. You feel what I'm saying? In the sense that in order for an individual to put things together, like they have to be able to see like a bigger picture. But then Virgos, they may not be able to do so. But at the same time, you know, they are really good when it comes to practical action. And so one collaboration, for instance, between the Virgo and the Gemini energy can be, Gemini is very thought orientated, right? We are like the, because I'm a Gemini, right? We are like the ones with all of the thoughts, the ideas, but we're like ungrounded in our thoughts and ideas, in the sense that it's more up in the sky, up in the air. Like we can be very irrational. And so Virgos, they can help ground the Gemini energy by taking the Gemini's ideas and then putting a plan of execution, you know, a practical plan of step A, step B, step C, and this is what you can do, right? So they're also really good managers, really good at managing people. And so ultimately also Virgo is the sign of labor, but it's also the sign of harvest. Like Labor Day is actually on Virgo, right? Because Labor Day is what, September 3rd. Virgo season starts on September, my bad. Virgo season starts August 23rd. You feel what I'm saying? And then September 2nd, that's actually the second decan of Virgo. So it's so deep how like these holidays or holy days, you feel what I'm saying? They're so astrologically aligned. But yeah, you know, so the whomever is like choosing, because it's really Masons, right? And Masons, they understand astrology. But yeah, so that's Labor Day, right? Labor Day is dead in the middle of Virgo season, because Virgo is the season that deals with, I mean, it's the sign that deals with labor. And so with that being said, you know, you may find yourself attracting a tremendous amount of needing to work. Maybe you've gone through a plethora of jobs, you feel what I'm saying? Like with Virgo being in your moon, because the moon deals with one's comfort zone. It also deals with how one reacts emotionally. But also ultimately one's comfort and what brings one's security, you feel me? So having a job, always being employed, you feel me, may be something that brings you great security and comfort, you feel what I'm saying? And Leo as well. Leos, they don't really like to not be without a job, you feel what I'm saying? Because, right, Leos, they're prestige and they want to be seen a certain way. So they don't like being broke, right? A Leo will only go broke for so long. But especially Virgo, I feel, because also Virgos have a desire to want to be useful. And their desire to want to be useful typically leaves them feeling used, you feel what I'm saying? And the thing with that is boundaries, because a Virgo, they're quick to extend themselves, right? They are the servants, the maidens of the zodiac. And so with that being said, it's like, what's of importance is like that you establish energies when you're helping someone of like IOU type energy, of like, I know you would do the same for me, you know, type energy. Because when it comes to Virgos and Pisces, the opposite sign to Virgo, a lot of the times people think that you guys just have this huge heart and people can extract and extract and extract without giving back, you feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, and it's like, because you guys let it be like that as well. And so for instance, bringing this energy of I owe you or you owe me, and not even, it may sound selfish, but I mean like a boundary, right? A boundary of, you're not going to take advantage of me, I'm going to help you, and when I need help, I know that you're going to help me type energy, you feel what I'm saying? So emotionally, right, Virgos, they're more analytical with their emotions. They don't precisely feel their emotions, but they try to think their emotions, process their emotions, break down their emotions, you feel what I'm saying? Rather than just feeling and processing their emotions like a regular human being is supposed to. I'm cracking jokes, you know, I'm cracking jokes, of course. But yeah, you know, they're not really, they don't deal much with emotions or even affection, right? Because the Venus, the planet of love and affection. I wonder where your Venus is though. But yeah, Venus, the planet of love and affection and friendship, is actually debilitated in the sign Virgo. Talking about friendship, so you'll have your moon and the...
This connection can imply the type of inner relationship between the moon.
Oh, my bad. But anyways, as I was saying though, you know, hold on, I'm trying to pull up your chart right now. So you have your moon and you have Venus and Gemini in the eighth house. Okay, so yeah, when Venus is in Gemini, it's pretty friend orientated, very flirtatious type energy. You feel what I'm saying? Very light, very cool. When it comes to social abilities. And but let's go back to the 11th house, which your moon is in. So the 11th house is the house of Aquarius, and so the 11th house is also the house of friendships, right? It's the house of goals, hopes, ambitions, aspirations. Those are all 11th house orientated things. And so but primarily the 11th house deals with one's social network, you feel what I'm saying? And it deals with like your friends. And so with all that being said, the moon being the planet of emotional fulfillment and comfort and security, it's like having friends, you feel me, is something that is of great importance. And hold on, I'm gonna have to cut this short and I'll be back. Alright, yeah, but as I was saying, like friendships are going to be of great importance. And so typically when the moon is in the 11th house, it can be an indicator, you feel me, of like, because the moon deals with the past as well, right? And so, and like your origin story ultimately. And so moon in the 11th house can even be an indication of having preserved friendships from childhood. But because you have your moon in a mutable sign, your moon is in Virgo, right? And mutable is like fluctuative and changeable, you feel me? This can be an indication that although friendships are important, you may throughout your life had a variation and a variety of different friends, you feel what I'm saying? And it's like with the moon being in the 11th house, this can even be an indicator of, because the moon also signifies family ties, you feel me? So it can even be an indication of like having friendships that are blood deep, you feel me? Like not having like friends that are not blood related, but they're genuine family connections, you feel what I'm saying? With the moon being in Virgo in the 11th house. But with the moon being in the 11th house though, it's like your emotions may have a tendency of inclining more so towards social energies rather than isolative and introverted energies. But there is a possibility of isolation because you have that ascendant in Scorpio, which we'll get into soon. But yeah, for the most part though, when the moon goes into Virgo, what is of importance is to find ways to start to feel your emotions, because there can be a possibility for like emotional constipation here, you feel me, in the sense that anytime like the moon is in an earth sign, because earth is the densest element, right? One, it can be an indication of dense emotions, and Virgo naturally is a sign that's very inclined towards worrisome and worrying, if what I'm saying. And so in the digestive, and not in the digestive system, but in the human body, Virgo rules the digestive system, right? The digestive system. I forget what it's called though. I know there's another name for it. But yeah, the digestive system. And so, like the digestive system, right? Which absorbs food, discerns what's good and what it should take and what's bad, what it should leave. Virgos are highly good at discerning the negative from the positive, you know what I'm saying? And like I started this breakdown with the fact that Virgo deals with criticism, analyticalism, and discernment. But ultimately though, with the moon being in Virgo, acts of service may be your greatest love language, and it's of importance that you tap into serving and helping others, you feel me? And especially with the decan that you have it in, because it's in the last decan of Virgo, which is the decan of renunciation. which can be an indication of like, um, so the Deacon of Renunciation more so highlights Virgo's purity aspects. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure you've heard people talk about how Virgo is like the virgin, but it's like Virgo being the virgin is, it has not much, nothing really to do with sexual energy, but more so to do with their desire to be pure, you know, to be noble, to be moralistic, you know, to have ethics, etc. But purity, right? And so, with this deacon, it's all about learning to push away and remove and release like toxic energies and toxic emotions. You feel what I'm saying? And I feel like with the moon being in Virgo, it can be very much like so, because with the moon being in Virgo, there can even be like a kind of hardship energy when it comes to your relationship and with your mother. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like relationships that we have with our like parents, right, as children, go on to heavily influence like our viewpoints on life, our emotions on life. You feel what I'm saying? So as an adult, you know, there may be a need for you to dive into your subconscious and unconscious mind and really assess, right, why, not even why, but the way that you think. You feel what I'm saying? Because because as children, it's when we, in a sense, develop our minds and develop our perceptions on life. But it's like a lot of the times that perception and that development is flunked out. You feel me? It's like it's toxic. And so as an adult, you have to go back in your mind and essentially do inner work, right? Child work, shadow work, they also call it. Um, but yeah, you know, that's like the moon and Virgo in the 11th house, if you know what I'm saying. Which can, it's a very worrisome sign, you know, and it's a restless sign as well, which indicates tremendous amounts of like mental activity, like continuously analyzing your situation and criticizing yourself. And so criticism is really good for nothing unless it's constructive criticism. Difference between negative criticism, or just criticism in general, and constructive criticism is that negative criticism is like when you're criticizing something but you don't offer a solution. You just, like, let's say you criticize yourself, right? And you're like, oh my god, I'm this, I'm that, the third, the fourth, the fifth, I'm all of these things. But then it's like you don't give yourself a solution to, okay, these are the steps I can take to stop being these things. But rather, you just identify with these things that you tell yourself to be. You feel what I'm saying? And so it's like what happens is, in that moment of associating with all those criticisms you made about yourself, you're like pushing out all of the great things that you also are. So it's like criticism really does more damage than good unless you're using it constructively and you're looking at the negatives, but you're like, yo, well, these are the negatives, but alright, this is the plan. You know, being practical about it and be like, this is the plan of execution I can take to improve this area or that area. But yeah, you know, I would say that pretty much concludes your moon in the 11th house. And so yeah, we're gonna dive deeper into the second section where I'm gonna be looking at the aspects. I'm not going to be looking at into the aspects in this section because we already have dove pretty deep into, you know, your energies and your chart. So we're gonna save that for the next section. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah. So one other thing I think I should talk about is perfectionism, and how, because Virgos sometimes can walk around like their shit doesn't stink. You feel me? They can have a tendency of alienating people. You feel me? Walking in this energy of I'm so like pure and I'm so like this and that. Like, you know, it's an energy that leads Virgo to being the hermit, right? Because Virgos are known for being the hermits, being alone and being by themselves. And so like that may be a tremendous like friction, that, or a cause of frustration, feeling like people don't really F with you or don't really want to associate with you. But it's really because of your judgmental and analytical energy, or yeah, judgmental and analytical energy, because that's why Virgos are judgmental and analytical, because in their heads they're aspiring to be perfect, right? And they continuously have this idea of perfection in their heads, which is an illusion, because like you truly can never be perfect. Like you can pursue perfection, but it's like, let's say you have an image of perfection, you get there, there's gonna be something else, you feel me? Then you get to that something else, then there's always going to be more room to grow, more room to grow, more room to grow. You feel what I'm saying? So it's important to learn to not be so anxious. And of course, this is easier said than done. And in the long term, I'll also give you insight, because I'm a Virgo ascendant, so I know all about this energy. I'll also give you insight onto how I went on dealing with this energy. You feel what I'm saying? But ultimately, it's all about learning to be content with what you have now and with who you are now. You feel what I'm saying? And realizing and understanding that the past doesn't exist, but it did make you who you are today. And the future doesn't exist, but you are creating it from who you are today. You feel what I'm saying? And realizing that your power is really in the present moment. You feel what I'm saying? Because you can't really do nothing about the past or the future. You feel what I'm saying? But it's like the past and the future meet in the present moment. You feel what I'm saying? So that's one way, right? But it's like Virgos, they're so practical that like they may have trouble just living in the present moment, because they feel like either they have to be fixing something. So it can be like self-created, self-inflicted troubles, right? Like Virgos, because of their over analytical minds, they can create troubles and problems for themselves that didn't exist, but only existed because they overthink things. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, I would say that's pretty much like the moon and Virgo energy. Like harmoniously, this is a feminine sign, so you do have feminine attributes and qualities, and you do have great abilities to nurture and take care of people. But it's like it's important that you also, just as much as you can take care of others, you start taking care of yourself as well, right? We talked about this earlier with the Leo energy. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna look into your ascendant, which is in Scorpio. All right, so your ascendant. So with your ascendant being in the sign Scorpio, first and foremost, the ascendant signifies the personality, right? It signifies the personal life. It signifies like one's innate default attitude. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, it's a very individualistic placement, or yeah, position. The ascendant's natural association is the sign Aries, and Aries' key phrase is the I am. You feel me? And so also the sun is exalted in the sign Aries, and the sun is the planet, or well, the star, right, that deals with egotism and identity. So the first house and the sun, they have very similar energies, except like the sun, it's you're like expressing it outwardly, right? It's like how you exert yourself into this world. But then like the ascendant is kind of just who you are when you're just chilling. Like it's just who and what you are. So first and foremost, with your ascendant being in Scorpio, what this indicates is that your chart ruler is Mars, and so Mars is the planet of strife, right? You may have heard Mars being referenced to as the god of war, right? And if we're to talk archangels, like Mars is the archangel Samiel, or its association is Archangel Samuel. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like very warlike energy, and so strife is the key phrase or key term that can describe Mars. So people that have Mars as their chart ruler, it's an indication of like their life being filled of a lot of strife. But like Scorpio is a water sign, right? And so their strife, it like, unlike Aries, because Aries goes through strife and hardships too, but it's more like them against the world, right? With Aries, it's them against the world, but like with Scorpio, it's them against themselves. You feel what I'm saying? In the sense that it's an internal sign, first and foremost. Second and foremost, it deals with emotions, right? And emotions are inward, they're not outward. And so, like, I guess it's not all their fault, but at the same time, like, no one's a victim. Because Scorpio is a very trauma orientated sign. You know, a lot of Scorpios are either born into trauma or they just experience a lot of traumatic events in their lives. You feel what I'm saying? That give them PTSD and all these other things. You feel what I'm saying? And so, with your ascendant being in Scorpio, I also want to tell you this. Scorpio is the sign of power, but it's also the sign of control. You feel what I'm saying? And so, because it's a feminine sign and it's more magnetic, this indicates that typically Scorpios, that is until they grow up and they learn to yield their power, typically they attract people that want to like manipulate them, that want to exercise power over them, and that want to control them. You feel what I'm saying? So Scorpio is also the sign that deals with like enemies. It just deals with open enemies, you know, so having haters, period. Like a Scorpio is also the sign of jealousy and envy and revenge, even if, as you may know, right? So it's very heavy, dense energies, most definitely. And it's like every Scorpio, it'd be of their best interest to get into shadow work, which is like learning to work with your subconscious, right? Those aspects of you that are not hidden, that are hidden, right? The shadow behind you, whatever, right? Learning to do that and really tap into your unconscious and essentially pull out the skeletons out of your closet, you feel me, from the past. But it's like, it's so deep because, well, Scorpio being a water sign, they're very, very sensitive, right? Very sensitive. And so what that does is it also makes them very intuitive, very tapped into the spiritual plane. You feel what I'm saying? But one of Scorpio's co-rulers is Pluto, and Pluto in Greek mythology is like Hades, right? The lord of the underworld. And so Scorpios is like important for a Scorpio to learn how to, well, first and foremost, it's important for a Scorpio to acquire knowledge about the spiritual realm. You feel what I'm saying? And learn like how there are a variety of different influences, and there is a handful of influences that are benefic and that want to help us, but there's also a handful of energies that are maleficent, right? Like demonic energies and things like that. And but it's like Scorpio, right? It's literally like Scorpio is the week of Halloween. Well, it's because Scorpio season is October 23rd. October 23rd until November. Scorpio. Yeah, for sure. October 23rd until November 23rd. That's Scorpio season. You feel what I'm saying? And as you know, October 30th or 31st is like Halloween. And like I broke down for you earlier, like the days, like we think that we just live in a society and things are random, but nothing is random, not at all. And it's like they picked Halloween to be in Scorpio because Scorpio deals with things like that, and so you may have a natural innate desire for like spooky things. You may really like Halloween, possibly. Like, oof, oh no, never mind. I thought that you had your moon in the 8th house, but it's in the 11th house. But your Venus is in the 8th house though. But we'll get into that when we talk about Venus later. But anyways, yeah, you feel me? So there is this energy of like having power in the dark. And it's interesting how I say having power in the dark because, Scorpio is also a sign that deals with like sex. You feel what I'm saying? And Scorpios, that may be one thing that they're good at. Like they may have their sexual energies intact and they may be really good at seducing people and things like that. And then it's like Leo is also a sign that's very associated with promiscuity, and sexual energies. And then you have your Venus in Gemini, which can also, well, let me just stop talking. But anyways, yeah. Like, what's of importance beyond all things though, with you having your Sun in Leo and your ascendant in Scorpio, is understanding the potency of your creativity and your creative ability, because both Leo and Scorpio are sexual signs, right? But like I said earlier to you, sexual energy is just raw creative energy. And it's like you can waste that energy through meaningless sexual engagements, or you can use that energy constructively to build something, to create something. You feel what I'm saying? And there's this book, right? It's called Think and Grow Rich, and they talk a lot about that, how you can use your sexual energy constructively. You feel what I'm saying? But anyways, with the moon in Leo, my bad, with the ascendant and um, with the ascendant in Scorpio and Mars being your chart ruler, it's of great importance to understand the tremendous pressure you hold in the sense of exerting onto your environment. Meaning that Scorpios are really good at not folding. You feel what I'm saying? Like Scorpios have gone through a tremendous amount of things. And so one association with Scorpio is like the phoenix, right? The phoenix which rises from the ashes. Now when you really look into that mythology, it's crazy because like the phoenix, right, it dies, but then it has to give birth to itself, right, out of its ashes. You feel what I'm saying? And once it gives birth to itself out of those ashes, it's still every single phoenix it's ever been, but it's just continuing its life. You feel what I'm saying? So it's so powerful and it's so deep. But it's like with Scorpios, there's literally this process of needing to learn how to give birth to themselves and having an experience of life where it's a continuous transformation, a continuous death and rebirth. You feel what I'm saying? Um, but because they're going through all of that, they possess great force, especially emotional force, and they can impose great force emotionally onto the environment, but also onto others. And what I mean by that is Leo, the sign of will, and Scorpio, the sign of desire. They're both fixed signs. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like what's of important with the sun being in Leo is finding purpose. And we already talked about how a lot of your purpose is intertwined with, well, freedom, because that's the ninth house energy, right? Freedom, but especially freedom of the mind and freedom of like philosophical perspective and thinking. It's like, because truly when you acquire the right information and knowledge, you truly do um, attain this level of freedom, like this freedom to be able to look into the world and not be confined. You feel me? And that's something that the ninth house really needs, right? That's something that will tremendously assist you in feeling purposeful. And then it's like the ninth house is also the house where you can find preachers, where you can find teachers, right? It's also the house of advertising, very public energies like ministers, right? Because the ninth house is the house of religion, but it's just the house of like, it also, the ninth house also rules like universities, colleges, higher knowledge and higher schoolings of all sorts. You feel what I'm saying? So these are all energies that are up in your alley. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, and then Leo, it's a sign that deals with like becoming a leader ultimately, you know, and becoming a leader has a lot to deal with leading yourself first and then being able to lead others. So like negatively, Leo likes to dominate others, and that can be negative because it can be bullying energy. But then like constructively with the domination energy is you can dominate yourself, like, and attain power and control over yourself and become your own boss, right? Because I can even get into this for you, like, so you have a soul, right? But then you have a human body, right? And so it's like the soul is supposed to be the master of the human body, right? But a lot of the way that people live is like the body is the master of the soul. You feel what I'm saying? And so to put it in more simpler terms, in which you may have heard, you know, the saying goes, the mind is a great wait, not there isn't even a saying like that actually. But it would make sense too, though, for me to say that the mind is a great servant to the wait, the mind is a great servant but a terrible master. And that's because like the mind extends and formulates the body. Like the body is an extension of the mind. But then the soul utilizes the mind. You feel what I'm saying? And so it's like You don't want your mind or your body, because your body has its own intellect, right? You don't want it to be your master, but you want your soul to be your master, if what I'm saying. And so that's very much in the most simplest terms I can explain on dominating yourself, right? But I would say that all pretty much concludes this reading. I hope you enjoyed it, and I definitely look forward to doing session 2 for you. And I also want to thank you for your patience, you know what I'm saying. It was the weekend. I typically don't work over weekends, and I have been working a shit ton as well, so I had to take a little step back. And we're just covering your birth chart right now, you feel me? And then once we're done with that, then like the true mentorship energy can begin, because I do know that you told me that you were looking for a mentor, and I can most definitely help you with that. But anyways, peace.